Hey everyone, welcome back to the Mark Loeffler Experience. We have another great show here for you today. We got my good friend Thomas Lorini, flew all the way in from LA to come be on the show in Oakville, Ontario. So thanks Thomas for gracing us with your presence. He quarantined for 2 weeks just to do this show. So make sure you watch it all the way through. Smash the like button for the YouTube algorithm and for Thomas. Yeah, I've definitely subscribed. You may have noticed a few different things going on. You might have noticed that we are now monetized, so you're going to start seeing ads on the videos. You know, if you're watching all the way through the ads, that's the way to do it, okay? Anyways, thanks everybody, all the new subscribers. If you don't know who I am, just quickly, my name is Mark Loeffler. I'm a real estate investor. I have a 200 unit portfolio, mainly in Hamilton, Ontario. I do stock options trading. I own a number of small businesses. So definitely subscribe if any of those things are what you like, because that's what we talk about on this channel. Thomas, welcome.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm happy to grace the presence of your YouTube channel, watch a number of your videos, man, and you're definitely, the subscriberships have increased, and the content is excellent, I must say.
Well, thanks so much for bringing the nice weather, because I can drive my Porsche now with the top down. And in November in Canada, I didn't think that was good.
I was hoping for some snow, like Mark mentioned. We're in quarantine for a couple of weeks, but this third week we're out and about, and the weather's beautiful. 20 degrees Celsius in November. Can't complain, Canadians.
Yeah. All right. So today we're going to be talking about investing from afar, right? So we're going to be talking about, because, I mean, you were in Toronto, you're in LA, both very expensive cities, both hard to find good investments. Yet you're an investor who continues to invest over time, and you joint venture and you do everything, but you invest from afar.
Correct.
So you're in LA now, and you're buying properties. You've bought properties in other states in the U.S.
Yes.
And in Windsor, right?
Well, in Ontario.
And
yes.
in Ontario, Hamilton, Windsor.
Yep, exactly. So some of you may have seen me on, my own group on Facebook and so forth. As Mark mentioned, I started investing actually in 2000. I only got into it in 2011. I met this awesome realtor who got me my first duplex by the name. His name was Mark Loeffler. Of all places, we met at Rain, if you remember that, right?
Yep.
Yeah, pretty cool. Rain Real Estate Investment Network here in Toronto. Joined that in January. We met soon after that, and I got that duplex in May, I believe, of 2011.
Yeah. What street was that on?
Hunter Street.
Hunter.
Yeah, I still got that property, and I'm happy we kept it. Great area off of Locke Street.
Yeah, that's a beautiful area. A little bungalow with a basement apartment.
Yes.
Nice garage on the side.
Yeah, one of the only ones that has a driveway and a garage on the entire street. Yeah. So happy about that. But that kind of got things rolling. I bought my first property in 2004, personal residency. I put a tenant in the basement, and that was my first taste of being a landlord, where the tenant was paying my mortgage. That was what I guess everyone calls today house hack.
I was just going to say, we used to house hack too, and we didn't know that it was actually called house hack.
Right? Now it's like house hack.
It wasn't called that, yeah. This is before social media. This is before Facebook and all this type of stuff. So
yeah, flip phones and all that good stuff.
Yep.
So soon after that, slowly started to increase my portfolio. But then, as Mark mentioned, I moved to California. So a lot of people ask me, how did you move there, and what's the process, whatnot? Well, the easiest way is marry an American. That's what I did. So my wife's from California. We got married. She actually moved to Canada. We were here for the first 5 years of our marriage, both kids born. Then we eventually moved to California. That's where we've been for the last 6 years. Mark mentioned in terms of investing. Yes, I invest from long distance. And California, Orange County specifically, about an hour south of LA, is a high-priced market, just like Toronto. $1 million homes plus is the average. It's very difficult for people to find cash flow. It's non-existent in most cases. So what do you gotta do? People invest in flips, but for a lot of people starting into investing, I talk to a lot of younger investors. People want to get into this. They don't have a huge savings, or they don't have a lot of capital to get into it. What are the options? Well, out of state and out of country investing are as kind of things I share with them. So there are plenty of markets across the U.S. where the price points of 1%, makes sense. You can find, from Ohio, North Carolina, Indianapolis, Memphis, all these,
I will give a shout out to my good friends in Omaha, Nebraska. You can do it there as well. And Tampa is really close on that too, because I have a good friend down there. He was on the show. I'll link his talk down below and when he did, because he had some great deals that he puts together there too.
Excellent. Yeah, so definitely there's plenty of places. Now, I know most of your viewers are Canadian and stuff, right? So what are the options for Canadians? Well, you can find other markets outside. If you're in Toronto or in Montreal or these high-priced areas, find other cities.
Well, I mean, when I started investing, I mean, I started in Newmarket, Ontario. Then I started going to Toronto.
Right.
And, I was buying duplexes in Toronto for like 280, triplexes for like 350. And then, basically it seemed like they kind of doubled overnight. And I was like, man, these things are too expensive.
Right.
And stupid Mark. I got in my own way. I told myself they were too expensive, so I couldn't buy there. So then I went and found cheaper markets. I came to Hamilton. Went to Cornwall. Now, to be honest with you, I don't think that has been so much to my detriment because all those areas have done really, really well. It's just Toronto has done really, really well too.
So
right?
you think if you had stuck with just Toronto, it would have been a better play?
I don't know. I don't know. Everything happens for a reason, right? So I don't think I would have been buying 20, 30 unit buildings.
Right.
Right. I don't think that would have been in the cards. I would have been buying 4 or 5 unit properties the whole time, right?
Well, listen, at the end of the day, the property values have all gone up. If you invest in Ontario, you've done a great thing. It doesn't matter what area.
That's
and just
true.
like Mark mentioned, I started investing in Hamilton and did that for the first few years. And then I moved to California and I said, okay, well, I got to look for other areas because even at that point, Hamilton prices were just doubling. It was crazy.
And they've doubled since then too.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'd done a flip in 2017 in Hamilton, bought the property for 140. It was about a year. It was a complete gut. By the time we sold it, it was 445. So we did tremendously well with that flip, but that was writing on the wall for me. I'm like, well, it's getting more and more difficult to find these like $200,000-$300,000 properties. Where else can I look? And that's where Windsor came on my radar. Never been to Windsor prior to that. Probably once in my life when I was a kid for a soccer tournament. But I looked into like Kitchener, Waterloo, London, all these other markets outside the GTA, and when I found Windsor, there was nothing online at that point. It was about 4 years ago. But I looked at price points, $80,000 single family homes. And then the rents were, they're lower than what they are today, but $700, $800. So 1% was available.
Yeah.
So I started really doubling down, picking up the phone, talking to all kinds of realtors, property managers, just like hustling over the phone, building the relationships up, and started putting some properties under contract. Ended up buying a number of properties, a few of them off market, and then repositioned some assets. So, I like Windsor. I was mentioning to Mark just before we got here online that it's just the market, there's potential, the growth is happening, you're seeing changes, you're seeing the infrastructure happening, there's a bridge project, new hospital, the automotive is coming back. I think the potential is there. But with that, a lot of GTA investors, Toronto investors,
wow,
obviously have found out, the cat's out of the bag.
Yep.
And people are looking at Windsor now, so prices are going up significantly.
And we'll link Austin's interview that we did, Austin Ye, and he's buying out there, and he said the same thing. It's finding more difficult to find cash flowing properties. So obviously you're a cash flow guy.
Yep.
Cash on cash return. Okay, so you started out. You wanted to invest 4 hours. This was only 4 hours away, or you were in LA at the time, right?
Yeah, I was.
So you're in LA. So it's a plane ride.
Right.
It's 2 because you got to connect. Because you go out of the small airport, then go to Detroit, cross the border, into Windsor. So it's a bit to travel there, right? So you started on the phone. You were talking to agents. You were talking to investors. You were talking to property managers there. Basically, you were networking from LA into Windsor.
Yeah. So one thing I kind of stress with people, you don't necessarily have to live in the market. You don't have to necessarily even go see the property. People have this idea they want to be driving distance to their properties. They want to touch it. They want to go visit it. Actually, once you figure out systems and processes, build a solid team, boots on the ground, that sort of thing, you don't have to be in that market. I've bought properties in Ohio, never been to, never walked through, never seen, and that's fine. Why? Because I've done my due diligence, inspections, appraisals. I've got contractors local. So once you build that out, it becomes even easier because I don't have to worry about traveling, getting there, and you're a little more disconnected. Like previously, that first property in Hamilton, I was the one doing the showings, trying to find tenants, getting my hands dirty with the contractors, and it was a lot of time consuming. In one sense, it's like I want to learn it, fine, But if you're going to be investing in a completely different market, the plane rides, all that stuff, maybe initially to kind of like set your team, but after that,
Well, that's why I want to invest somewhere down south so I can write off the plane ticket and everything when I go there, right? CRA, if you're watching this, that's not what I'm doing at all. No. Here's the thing with technology, even now, like we're more advanced today than we ever were. Like
Yes.
we have an investor looking at a student rental in Hamilton right now for their child, and they're like 6 hours up north, right? And everything's just Zoom. We go
Zoom,
through
DocuSign.
or if they can't be available, we videotape it
Yep.
and we put it on a private YouTube for them. And I mean, DocuSign's so easy. I mean, back in the day, like you would have to come into my office and sign
The
something.
photocopier. Or the fax.
Faxing. And I talk about it
brutal.
all the time with new agents coming in, how lucky they have it.
Yeah.
Because I was doing a lot of deals back then. If we had DocuSign, I'm sure my assistant would have loved that too. Because anyways, we digress. We go down that rabbit hole. So so doing it from afar is way better. Like they can take you on a neighborhood tour, right? You say, I've done the Google walk. Just take me, because Windsor may not be like this, but the States is kind of like, hey, this is a good street next to a bad street, right?
Absolutely.
Like, I know from my experiences in Rochester, New York, right? Like this street is fine.
Yeah.
This street, no go.
Yeah. Well, even in Hamilton, way back, like 10 years ago, the situation was similar. But you make a good point, Mark.
It was areas there because the lenders wouldn't lend here, and
Yes.
now it's wide open.
So I think the systems and processes, and I'm always up for improving my systems. How do I make this? I can delegate tasks, keep people accountable, improve my team. I brought a VA recently on my team.
For you guys, that's a virtual assistant?
Yes, and it's been a godsend. I just kind of delegate a lot of tasks to her.
Where's your virtual?
She's in the Philippines.
Yeah, very common.
$4 an hour, but very diligent. I did several screenings. I went through a company, so we interviewed about 5-6 different individuals prior to.
And I mean, we talked about this. It was in the 4 books you must read video I did for Tim Ferriss, the 4-Hour Work Week, right? He talks about that a lot. And he's, basically, if they can do it 80% as well as you just give it away.
Yeah, exactly. You have to get away from that perfection syndrome and stuff a lot of us may have. My engineering background kind of rolls into a lot of things, but I have to be comfortable. Like social media, I'm handing off a lot of that to her. Whereas before, I'd spend so much time thinking of the right caption, the exact perfect, whereas it's like, it cannot take you 2 hours to do a post, It just the time consuming. It just and return and all that. You got as an investor, you have to really value your time, because that ultimately, what we say, is the most precious thing.
Yeah, I'm gonna do a YouTube video probably, because we just got monetized basically today as we're shooting this video. It's gonna come out next week, probably next Friday. And I'm gonna do a video upcoming, probably at the end of the month or something, to show, hey, from this day of being monetized till the end of the month, this is how much I've done it, and all the work I've had to put in to get there. And I'll tell you my hourly rate. I'm sure it'll be pennies on the dollar. So I think that'll be an interesting one. Again, maybe it's one of those ones I think is very interesting, and then I get like 50 people watching it. So I don't know. You tell me. Comment down below if that's something you want to see, how much I make from today to the end of the month on YouTube.
Right. And with YouTube, and saying that, it's something that maybe if you enjoy it, that's an important factor, because you may not get the return that you may necessarily, like, your value is worth. But if you enjoy it and you feel like you're putting out content that people can really extract and learn from, there's value in that, Mark.
100%. And I'm not diminishing that. This is like honestly how I'm doing it now, where I'm like sitting there and basically hanging out with my buddies.
Right.
And I'm meeting new people, and that I should know and should be my friends anyways. Yeah. So anyways, we digress. So what is your VA doing for you?
So brought her on board. So we've created a system. So I utilize different apps, like Asana's one, where I create like a day-to-day system, checking in.
Asana, ASANA?
Correct. Okay. So I use Asana and I use Slack. Those are my 2 main ones. Asana is setting up the system of how to operate. So check in at 8 o'clock in the morning, post social media at this time, make calls for me for so many hours.
Who do they call?
The lists. They're called past clients of mine. They've called, because I'm also a realtor in California and stuff. So I have her calling past clients of mine, just checking in. My name is Danny. I'm with Thomas Lorini team, and just checking in. We sold your house about a year ago. Follow me up. Is there anything we can do for you? Is there anyone else they're looking to buy or sell? or invest, and then that's just kind of staying in touch, top of mind. And that's something you can utilize as an investor. You got to create a list of potential buyers or sellers and just being top of mind.
Oh, it could be. I mean, if you can create a list of apartment buildings you might want to buy.
Yeah, there you go.
Just give them a call quarterly, and that's your VA could do that for sure. I mean, we had a VA doing that back when I had a bigger team. Maybe I'll go back to that. I don't know. Kellen didn't talk about this, but that could be finding off-market deals, right?
Right. Because ultimately, there's only so much hours in the day, and some of these tasks, it just once you train someone, they can do it. So my VA speaks very well English, which is important. Communication.
Because people always ask me that, and then I'm like, what's the chance I hire somebody in Canada that might have an accent?
High.
It's high. Same with probably LA, right? I don't think that matters so much anymore. Maybe if I was in Midwest states or something, I don't know.
Right. Well,
and we don't want to go down that rabbit hole.
Exactly. So at the end of the day, I hired this VA. There's a certain process we've set up in Asana, but I have her doing, like I mentioned, social media, calls for me, and some creative stuff. Like she's doing ads. Today she was sending me some ad design she had for me. As much as a lot of times it's like things I'm not even thinking of. As they spend more time, I did the calls. If it's like 2-3 hours a day of calls, once that's done, then it's like, all right, go into social media, finding ways to bring in business or just other tasks where it's like, listen, can you do it? Just to give you an idea, the company I utilize is that, started by a young gentleman. He's got about 13 or 14 VAs working for him. He's got some that takes his dry cleaning out, order his food delivered to his house. So, and why does he do it? Because he's so busy in this other parts of his life and his business and creating multiple businesses that he's like, it takes too much time for me to go shopping, grocery shopping. So you just got a VA, orders it online and then delivers it type of thing. So anyways, it's just to get your mind to think. There's different ways of doing it. This is some way I've done it. Other people have done it. So kind of think, okay, you know what? Give it a try. At $4 an hour, I think the value's there.
Yeah. Property specific. So what is she doing on your rental properties for you?
I don't have her involved in my rentals as of now.
Okay.
At some point I may. Some investors, they'll get a VA, kind of have a phone number that basically tenants can call, almost like your property management.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? They just call this number, VA picks up. Yeah, I've got a problem with the leaky toilet.
You have a property manager for now, right?
It's interesting. I do a lot of the management myself.
Okay.
I have a property management to find my tenants and screening, but for a good portion of my stuff, I was always kind of delaying. Okay, at some point I got to get a property manager involved, but so far it's been pretty successful because what I do is normally I buy an asset, I reposition it, I pretty much do as much of the improvements as possible. So there's not going to be any issues coming up over the first 5-6 years.
Yeah.
I use a third party. They screen, they do a good job of finding me a quality tenant, top money coming in every month, and then they have my info, number or email. But honestly, about 95% of them don't reach out to me. If they do, it's no problem. What is it? Oh, I got this issue. Light's not turning on. Great. Call a handyman. Go by.
Yeah.
It's a quick text. He goes by, schedules it in, does the work, sends me a bill. It's a one-off.
Well, and that could be your VA at some point too, right?
It could be, exactly. So depending how much I scale, how much time it consumes at the end of the day. Yeah.
Because how many units do you have right now?
34.
34 units. Yeah.
So at this point, some of them are single family ones. Those tenants never call.
Yeah.
It's almost the ones that are in the mixed use, in the multifamilies, where it's like, hey, my neighbor's something going on, or someone's issued noise or those kind of things.
I find that in the smaller multis for sure. Like when you have it's in a house or something like that. That's why I got away from them and went purpose-built concrete construction because there's just no sound travel between units. And for me, sound, smells, whatever between units. It's like, why are you calling me? I don't want to. This is. If it really bothers you, call the police. What am I going to do, right? So.
Well, and you hear about property management. That's a whole other conversation. But in a nutshell, a property management company, they're in business. They're in business for themselves first, and they serve. They have, and there are good property managers. But as a whole, it's difficult to find one. I had a bad experience with one. Probably I had about 3 or 4 months, and then we had to cut the contract because double billing, bad service, tenants were complaining, and it's like, all right, you're charging me for things that do they really need to happen, or is it important? Yeah. Whereas, I find that as you scale, at some point, you may want to start your own property management company.
Which I have done. We don't take outside people right now.
So you have your own.
I have
property
my
management
own.
company.
I have one person.
Yeah.
And actually, I don't even call her a property manager. I call her my investment consultant or my investment advisor because she's there. She's managing the contractors. She's like basically she's the person on
Yeah.
site, right?
Yep.
And she is the property manager, and she doesn't rent the units, but she goes through all of the
Is she like on salary? Is she?
She's salary.
She's salary.
She's
Great.
salary plus profit bonus.
Okay, well, great. That's I think how you got to do it, because if it's just like a third party hired company, they'll just schedule in. They're not as incentivized. You don't have as much control either.
Yeah.
And that was the problem we were having. It's like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, you told me you were gonna be there on Tuesday. It's a week later. What's going on?
Yeah.
Whereas if they're on your tab, then it's like, okay, I'm controlling that person.
So how are you going to scale? Because you have 32.
Yeah.
32. How are you going to scale
34.
that? 34. How are you going to scale that to 70?
Well, right now I'm looking at bigger assets. So, I'm kind of getting away, as you mentioned, from the smaller duplex single-family condos and looking at, making offers. So right now I'm under contract for a 22 unit in Cambridge.
Okay.
We'll see if that happens. If that goes through, then either my partner is going to really heavily get involved in the management of that, or will we just sub that out to a property manager?
Yeah.
So I think that the scalability, depending on the market, it will dictate. Like a couple of properties I have in Ohio, I do have a property manager for those ones, right?
Yeah.
So,
And those single families in Ohio?
those are single families and stuff.
Yeah.
Those are more turnkey. You bought them, did light rentals, put a tenant in place, and then, again, $80,000, $90,000 property rent for $1,000 a month,
So you're just cash flowing $300-400 a month.
Exactly. With the property manager in place, they take like 8% or something, so $80 or something like that a month. It was just worth it. So I've never seen the property, never talked to a tenant, never got involved at all with that property.
Those are my favorites.
Yeah.
I want to buy 50 units like that. Right?
You know what? Talking about that, there's pros and cons to every scenario. Like I look at those properties, yes, they cash flow $300 or $400 a month, but then all of a sudden, boom, one thing goes. Like we had the HVAC go a couple years ago, and all of a sudden, that was like $3,000 bill.
There's your year.
That was like a year and a half or 2 years of cash flow and stuff, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, all right, we did redo the pipe from the city, the sewer, and that was another like couple grand, right? So again, another year of cash flow. There's not much appreciation in the market. It's like 1%, 2%, so it's nothing. I don't even factor in appreciation. So really, after a couple years, what kind of return did I get for my money?
You kind of got to find some stuff that if you're going to do it there. For me, I would look for something that I could put some work into and really do a burr on a single family there, and then add the value up front.
Yes.
So I'm not really counting on cash flow.
Exactly.
And if I get cash flow, hey, great. But you build a big enough pool of them. I mean, just as we were talking about before we jumped on, you can just keep buying single families there, and you can find single families there below market value.
Exactly.
And
if you got like 20, 30 grand of equity in each one of those things, and you cash flow like $300, then it makes sense.
Yeah.
At that point, then just keep doing it.
Yeah, and then you can just keep rolling it into one another, right?
Yes.
So I started asking this from everybody. Say you lost everything today.
Mm-hmm.
What would be your first thing you would do today?
That's a good question.
No properties, you're zero money, you start from zero.
Well, building relationship has been a huge point, huge thing for my I guess real estate career. So I'll tap into my network, and people would probably know that I have experience now. You have those relationships. So I don't got any money, but I have the experience. So I'll put together deals.
So what if was this when you had no experience? What would you do?
So no experience, no money?
No experience, no money.
What would I do? Well, I start reading. I educate myself at some point. Well, that's why I would join Lorini at that point, right?
Yep.
I wanted to do it. I just didn't know anyone. I didn't have that much money, but I had to put myself into an environment which was fertile, where people are doing it. So that's what I did. The minute I dropped myself in that fertile soil, if you will, that's when I met people like yourself, met the lawyers, accountants, and so forth. I'm like, wow, this is where the action's happening. These people are doing it. So now it's like, I'll just tag along. Say, listen, you know what? I'm a young guy, or I got no capital, but I'm hungry. What can I do? And then you may say, listen, find me a deal. So whatever that means, you can find deals these days online.
Yep.
This year I did several wholesale deals, right? None of my own money. How did I find it? Just by hustling, calling property managers, other investors, partnering with me. I did all the work. We split the wholesale fee.
Nice.
So there's different ways. Off at MLS, making offers on MLS. I mentioned to you earlier, a $1.1 million apartment was on the MLS for a while, put under contract. I had to put a deposit down, but then at the end of the day, I wholesaled that deal. So not really any money out of my pocket for that.
Yeah.
So there are ways, but if I didn't have no education, no money, I would start by surround myself around people who are doing it, and
Yeah.
just kind of like, just see how I can help.
Yeah. So learn, sponge, get out there, look at deals.
Yeah.
Make stuff happen, right?
Make stuff happen, make offers. You
Yeah.
know, offers are like kind of the lifeline. You know, maybe you have to make 10, 20 offers before you get one. That's fine. Get used to that, you know.
Yeah, I don't think you need to make 10 or 20, but
Right, but I'm saying, like, just the idea of making offers,
Yes.
it gets you outside of that, you know, analysis paralysis. It gets you outside of kind of like, you know, I don't think I could do it. The unbelief factor.
yeah,
It's
emotion creates emotion, or emotion, right? It gets you moving
Yes.
forward, and then at some point somebody will say yes, and you're like, oh shit, what do I do now, right? And
Yes.
then you're like, okay, well, I'll go find some, and if it's a good enough deal, like we had Sandy on, he didn't talk about this, but like I think he made like $100,000 on a wholesale in Burlington, right?
Mhm.
And you know, and that guy flipped that property and made $250,000, right? Like it's just one of those things, and Sandy just didn't have the connections to do it at that time.
Mhm.
And now it's like, oh, so I can put these deals together.
Right.
Now I just got to go find that money partner, and I can be the person, and I can make
Yep.
instead of this, instead of $30,000, I can make 100, right?
You know what's an interesting thing? Like, one thing I noticed in a lot of areas, you don't even show proof of funds, which is remarkable.
We don't have to show that in
You know,
Canada.
in Canada in general, well, in the States, it's very like, you got to show proof that you're capable of doing the deal.
Yeah.
So with every offer, they're going to want to see bank statements. They're going to see a pre-approval letter from the lender. If we don't have that here, do you know how easy that is, guys? You could be making offers. And that's what I'm doing. I'm making offers, just like, you know, have contingencies in place, but they don't have to know if you can actually perform.
Yeah.
And that gives you, during the due diligence, it gives you time to find a partner or potentially wholesale it. But that's the whole thing, is like, it's that much easier here. You know,
Yeah.
not having to prove that you can buy this $1 million asset.
Yeah. Well, I mean, last point here, then we'll go to lunch. I just sold a 23-unit building, and literally it was his biggest building he's bought, and he made 10 phone calls to joint venture partners, and I think by the fourth, that's his goal.
Right.
By the fourth phone call, he had all his money, and he had sent emails to all these 10 people, and he had people calling him saying, "I want in on the deal," and he's like, "I'm sorry, like it's already sold out. I'll find you another one," right? So. I mean, we're going to leave it on that, Thomas. Thanks so much for traveling from LA just to be on the show. I mean, I think you're going to win for the longest person traveled until we get my buddy, maybe a couple buddies from Australia or something. Who knows? But yeah, thanks so much, guys. If you like this stuff, definitely subscribe. Turn on the notification bell. Smash the like button because he traveled so far to be here. Thanks, everyone. We'll see you next time.
Thank you. Take care.